Hi, this is Sahid with New Bloom Solutions. Want to bring you another episode of the Bloom Show. As you know, the Bloom Show's intention is to inspire, connect, and inspire, connect, and I forgot the other one, but inspire, connect, and innovate the floral industry. And as you know, this is live, so we're winging it at times. I might make mistakes, but as I've always said, is don't fear perfection. Move forward as long as your intentions are well. So thanks for joining us today. Today we will have Barry Gottlieb. He's a leader in mentorship within the flower industry. He's a trusted advisor, author, speaker, and also a success mentor, which is awesome. He's also the author for Brilliant at the Basics. I've heard a lot about Barry for many years, nothing but good things with employees that worked with him, and I thought it would be great addition to have him on for our month. Our month is this month has been company culture and empathy and how important it is to the flower industry. So we invite you to ask any questions. Please feel free. He's a wealth of information. The little bit that I've spoken to him, he's unintentionally mentored me. So I really look forward to having him on board, asking questions, and we have a line of questions to figure out how we as an industry could become more empathetic. So please allow me to please help me have him on or welcome him on to the show. Thank you. How you doing there, Barry?
Doing fantastic. Thank you.
Nice to see you. And again, thank you for joining us.
It is an honor to be here to connect with some of my friends from the floral industry, an amazing industry.
And that goes to my first question right off the bat. How did you get into the floral industry? Because I know your history started in the 70s, which to me is amazing.
Yeah. So I was teaching at Santa Fe Community College and at the University of Florida. My former college roommate got involved with these four brothers from Colombia that had all this land and they wanted to grow carnations. And so in 71, they started a business and it was slowly getting going. And after a few years, they finally convinced me to pack up from Gainesville, move back to Miami and get into the flower business. And that's back then. The original partners, we built a company called Continental Farms, the original one.
Yes. Yeah.
That we sold in 1998.
In 1998,
we sold it. Yeah.
Wow. So I've put Barry's email there just in case if anybody wants to get in touch with him, and I'll put it at the end of the show as well. And at the end of the show, you might want to get in touch with him. So,
thank you.
Barry, no, my pleasure. So Barry, in one sentence, what does your company do?
Well, really, my company
what do you
now,
do?
It's me. And basically, I've devoted my life to inspiring and empowering others to reach their full potential. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. And how do you do that then? And what does that really entail, if I could ask? I told you I kind of.
No, absolutely. So for me, whether it's companies in the floral industry, outside the industry, or private individuals that are at a place in their business or their personal life where they feel that they could use a mentor, somebody to help them achieve more things. Because what I have found is everybody's capable, but we all have these obstacles that keep us from achieving. And those obstacles are there for everybody every day. And so I can be that outside resource that comes in and helps build not just strategies, because strategies, Sahid, I say this all the time, strategies are worthless unless you are able to implement them, execute them consistently. So what I do is I help companies or individuals create strategies, and then we work on ways to make sure that we're executing those and also make sure that we are measuring that we're taking a course of action to reinforce all of those activities that help us be successful.
And have you seen I guess you haven't. Have you seen a need for that in our industry in a sense?
Well, absolutely. There are many companies. I've had the good fortune over the years to be able to work with hundreds of different companies in the floral industry, from the wholesalers to the retailers to the mass market accounts. And what I have found is that companies that really get into it, there's a huge difference between going to a Tony Robbins 4-day weekend
Okay.
and then going away and thinking you're going to miraculously be changed, or whether you go to a Tony Robbins weekend and then you have some way of executing what you learn there consistently. So I've been able to go into companies and work with their leadership teams, with their sales teams, and help them create the disciplines they need to be more successful.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I think that you have to be very intentional with that, and that's what you're saying in reality is the
Absolutely.
intentionality of following the strategy, because we all have
Most
strategies.
definitely. Yeah, because I always tell people, look, knowledge, there's an old saying that knowledge is power. It's totally not true. Knowledge is only power when you apply it consistently, because all the knowledge in the world is available on Google.
Yeah,
It's all there for you. But if you don't apply it consistently, then you don't get the results that you need.
that's true because it just goes away. It's kind
Yeah,
of like, you know,
definitely.
don't brush your teeth just once a day.
It may feel good for the moment, but it's not going to get you any further than where you were the day before.
There you
So,
were the day before, yeah,
yeah,
100%. And the big buzzword for me lately is because I've been reading it, but I also been understanding it more and more is emotional intelligence. And I know you and I
yeah.
kind of touched base on that when we first spoke. How important is emotional intelligence? What is emotional intelligence, and how can it be used within our industry?
So first, the idea of emotional intelligence is all about how we manage behavior.
Mm.
Okay, starting with our own. And what I would recommend to anybody that's watching this, that you need to understand that people with average emotional intelligence will outperform people with high IQ 70% of the time.
You say that.
And
Yeah.
in the research that Talent Smart has done, where they've researched over a million people all over the world in different companies, they found that 90% of top performers have high emotional intelligence. And so they've broken it down, and I recommend highly to everybody the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0 should be on everybody's reading list. It should be on everybody's reading list. And again, it's reading the book won't change anything. If you apply what you read consistently, it'll change your personal life. It'll change the course of your business dramatically.
And I also think with that book, because that's what I'm reading, but I think, again, going back to my cliche word is being intentional because I'm going to have to go back and read it.
Yeah.
Go back and read it to
Yeah.
understand one what I was reading and also the methods that are involved. Because it's
So,
not
for
just
example,
go
you're
for it.
reading that book, Sahid. At the end of that book, they actually give you the opportunity to take the EQ test, send it off to them, and they then send you back the results. And they will tell you in the four skill areas of emotional intelligence, they'll tell you what your score is in each of those. They'll direct you to the page, the chapter in the page that has strategies to help you improve those. And the
Yes.
cool thing about emotional intelligence, it's very different than your intellectual quotient, because your IQ is pretty much fixed. What your IQ was at 15, it's going to be at 50, 60, 70, whatever it is. Your emotional intelligence, you can build those skills. And so if you work on the skills that really need improvement, guess what? The more you improve in those areas, the more everything in your life improves. I
And
highly recommend it.
and I do too. I do too. I think just the one or two things I've learned have helped me. So,
And by the way, because I love to give things away for free, that if anybody wants to reach out to me, send me an email. I will actually send them. I'd be happy to send them the PowerPoint presentation that I did for an SAF convention on emotional intelligence. I'd be happy to share that,
man,
which is pretty much a summary of emotional intelligence 2.0.
I'd love to see it myself. So I will send you an email.
You got it. I'd be happy to do it.
And then Barry's email is right here. So if you like, please send them an email. And as this show is intended to share unconditionally, to share, or ask, sometimes selfishly. So please ask as much as you can, and as well, reach out to Barry. He's a gentleman that's willing to network and help as
Well,
well. And
thank you.
I
Yeah, I'd
know
be
that.
happy to help.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
So how important or how can emotional intelligence and developing your team for emotional intelligence help the growth of your business?
Yeah. So let's start with the where it really needs to begin is emotional intelligence needs to start with the leadership team. Look, nobody went to I went to college for a lot of years, right? I've had a bunch of degrees, but nobody taught me anything about emotional intelligence back then. Now, for the past 20 years, 30 years, emotional intelligence is something that all the psychologists have now tuned into, and they've doing all this research is important. So where it really needs to start is with leadership. And there are certain things that leaders can do so that they become more emotionally intelligent. For example, and just a quick example, in the old school, like when I got into business in the 70s in the floral industry, right? The way most of the companies were driven was that the person in charge was a person of authority. Today, if you want to have a successful business, the people in charge need to be people that are influencers, that they influence the people that work with them, that they're not this person that talks down to them. They're the leader that says, follow me, rather than telling them to charge into the battle. So having emotional intelligence helps you understand not only how you deal with your own challenges emotionally and how to get better on those, but how to socially interact with people. And you mentioned something before, that's the groundwork of all emotional intelligence is basically empathy. And when you think of emotional intelligence, empathy would be the equivalent of when you build a home, the first thing you have is a foundation. Without that foundation of empathy, it would be very difficult to be able to build your emotional intelligence skills. And
And you
that's what
might
leaders need to be. Leaders need to be
empathetic.
empathetic.
And I think that that empathy rubs off to the sales reps, the team, then to
Of
the
course.
customer base. Then you're
Of
building
course.
real relationships. So you could answer this or not. As
Sure.
you know, this is like off the cuff type of interviewing. So from
Yeah.
a 1 through 10, what would you grade our empathy level in the flower industry when dealing with our customers? And if you don't want
As
to
a
answer it, you can
generalization.
move on.
No, as a generalization, because there's companies that probably,
Generalization.
and I'm
Generalization.
not going to name specific companies, but there are some companies that I see higher
I
levels
as
of it
well.
in there.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, they're the ones that seem to be performing really well. So, but I would say that the industry needs to make a shift from that organizational structure where at the top of that organizational chart, they have, if they're the owner of that wholesale house or that retail florist, or if they're the owner of a brokerage company or a farm, your name, meaning the chairman, the CEO, to me has never been in that top box. Above that box should be the word customer. And the customer is not just the people that you sell to. The
Yes.
customer is all the people that work with you, all the vendors that you do business with, and all those people that buy your product. And so to give you an answer after giving that long blown out thing, I'd say that the industry is probably somewhere around a 6 to a 7. So there's plenty of room for improvement. But I will tell you that it has gotten better over the years, much better.
It has gotten better. It totally has gotten better, but I think it's gotten better by necessity sometimes. And
Yeah,
saying,
look,
okay,
of
we
course.
have to just start treating our customers a little differently, because one of my goals is or one of my theories is we're not a transactional business anymore. It's
Yeah,
not about how good your last sale was.
yeah. There's plenty of good flowers out there.
It's
People people can buy a good carnation from 10 different companies. They can buy a good rose from 10 different. There's not going to be a quality problem. So look, what it comes down to, Sahid, my opinion, is there's always going to be people that have similar products to you. Even eventually a company like iPhone will have competitors, right? There'll be somebody that has competitive product. So the product alone isn't what's going to make you more successful. And certainly we know that it's not price, because there's always somebody that is cheaper than you. So if it's not the product, if it's not the price, what does it come down to? It comes down to the emotional experience that the people that work with you, the people that do business with you, feel when they do. It's the experience that they have when they do business with you.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, the experience.
And I think it all ties now to what the topic of the month has been as well, is company culture.
Yeah,
So,
amen.
so how does it's pretty obvious, but how does that all tie into company culture? And then how important, which obviously it's important, but how important is company culture to company
All
success
right,
and to
so
employee
let's
happiness?
when we look at company culture, employee happiness, let's get to some of the facts,
All
okay?
right.
All right. According to research that's been done worldwide, 70 to 80% of employees are disengaged. A disengaged employee costs the company approximately 34% of their salary. Okay. More than 50% of the people that leave a job, they leave the job not because they didn't like their job, they leave because they didn't like their boss. Why didn't they like their boss? It's because their boss had no emotional intelligence, which without that, the company culture becomes, look, you can have cultures where people just drop, and there's so much written about this today, especially with what's going on with COVID. The entire movement in business today isn't about shareholders, it's about stakeholders. A stakeholder
Yes.
is everybody that's involved in your company. If all of those stakeholders are happy and engaged, productivity skyrockets. By the way, companies that have an engaged team, okay, people are 87% less likely to quit if your employees are engaged. So when we talk about culture, emotional intelligence in companies, of course, I run up against all kinds of people. Barry, I don't want to listen to your fooey stuff. That's all pie in the sky.
I'm there with you, Barry.
The statistics, if you're just a statistic person that looks at the metrics of productivity, customer retention, customer growth, everything points to company culture being the key. And at the core of company culture, of course, is there needs to be emotional intelligence from the top down. It will not trickle up. I'm sorry, it won't. And so what do leaders need to do? Oftentimes what we do is that we'll take somebody that was a great salesperson or a great person at pulling boxes, and we move them into a managerial position. And what do we do for them? Nada. We don't do anything to help them understand how to be a leader. And so when you ask me, what do? What I do is I'm invited into companies that recognize that, and I work with their leadership teams to help them be better leaders. Then, of course, what that happens, that trickles down to the rest of the employees that are there. But you don't need me to do that. There's a million great mentors out there. You just need to tune into them and do the right stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree 100% because we have to make an effort for that. And
Yes.
you could do it yourself, again, going back to my word, intentionally. And help me define what is employee engagement, because I understand customer engagement by marketing and staying engaged and staying present. What is employee engagement?
Well, the first part that we all need to learn about employee engagement is the most important thing we can do is give our employees psychological safety. They have to feel mentally good working where they work. They need to know that that boss sees them not just as a salesperson or a box puller, but as a human being, and that human being needs to be, and especially now with COVID-19 and the whole strategy of how the workforce has changed. Look, the latest research says that over 75% of the people in the US are suffering from anxiety right now. In my opinion, it's 100%. The other 25% are just in denial. But because now the new office is the home, the new coworkers are your family or your dogs or your pets. In my case, my wife and my cat, we're both here working from home, right? So we have to know how to psychologically give our employees that's safety. And to me, that's what employee engagement is, making them feel good about them, helping them learn and grow, inspiring them and empowering them, not telling them, but inspiring them and empowering them by doing the things that help them. And by the way, this doesn't mean that people shouldn't have goals and objectives. Of course they should, because the more structure you have, the more freedom you have. People need to know with clarity what their purpose is. And I know we could go on for a million years with this stuff, so cut me off at any time.
No,
So
I'm with you. I'm with you. I certainly will.
okay.
And I like the passion, and that's why you're on, man. So I appreciate that. What I asked a question the other day to a gentleman that was on, Bart David, and the question was, what is the ROI on company culture? It wasn't easy to answer, but what is the ROI on company culture?
For me, it is, I can tell you what some of the studies tell us, right? That optimistic, positive companies, meaning the employees, everybody, they outperform pessimistic, negative companies on average by 34%. So what better ROI can you have than having a team of people that are your ambassadors, that love you, that are telling people, hey, come work here. This is an amazing place to work. That trickles down. The customers feel it. They want to do business with you. Their customers feel it. So the ROI on average is 34% increase. Imagine if you do it really well and you're one of the leaders in this, that's how you separate yourself from the rest of the pack.
And for our viewers, as Barry said, there is a reason to hire a professional, but there's also no reason to not start because you don't want to hire a professional. You could start on your own by educating yourself. There's a book that I read called
Absolutely.
Fish. Have you read
Yes,
the book Fish?
sure. Absolutely.
It starts with that person at the top to take responsibility for the actions of everybody else.
So,
Correct?
Sahid, I had a phone call from somebody the other day that wanted to know my advice because he was getting ready to pay $50,000 a year for a mentor to help him do something. And I said, well, look, you can do that if you feel that's the right move, or you can go on Audible and get this book and live it, breathe it, take the action on it. And you can do that for $20 rather than 50,000. If you take the action, you're going to have the best mentors in the world are available to us.
Yeah. And they're there, and not only that, you could actually reach out to mentors nowadays.
Absolutely.
It's so easy and ask questions. And, if you have a thought, there's so much engagement and communication available at our fingertips.
And now with Clubhouse, people can jump on these seminars that people are offering, and you can just hear what other thought leaders are saying.
Yeah, it's too bad Clubhouse is a new app for anybody that's listening. It's Apple. I highly recommend it for anybody that's either looking to market or have something to say. And it's the floral industry. The florists are really taking on to it. So just a tip there. It's a little good one to jump on.
And right now it's by invite only, but they will eventually open it up completely.
Yeah. And the sooner you're on, the more territory you can get. It's like social media. So get your piece. Exactly. And then where do you see the floral industry in the next 5 years?
I see continued growth, but I also see continued consolidation, mergers, acquisitions, and I see people recognizing that. I always like to say to people, whatever got you to where you are today, it's not enough to keep you there. So you need to be changing. And if you're not changing, see you later. You'll be losing. So
what got you here won't get you there. That's
right.
I think there's a book called that my wife read, and it's basically trying something different. If it
you got to be willing to fail. Yeah. If you're not willing to fail, you're going to get left behind. You've got to take chances.
And it's like, go ahead. I'm sorry, Barry. Go ahead.
I'm saying you look at people like 50 Flowers that expands into urban stems, and you see people taking these chances, and I see that and I go, awesome. I love this. I love that people are trying new things, doing new things. I saw the other day that one of the wholesale companies now has where they have an online buying thing that anybody can go onto anywhere. So I mean, it's just the shift is there, and shift happens. So you either got to join in or you're going to miss the boat.
You know I'm quoting that one.
Okay.
Shift happens. That is
Yep.
awesome. I feel like you're like you're Forrest Gump. You just named. Remember that scene of the movie?
Yes.
Shift happens. That is
Shift
awesome.
happens.
Shift happens. Sorry, that's hilarious. I find things funny that aren't funny. What book would you recommend for any leader? And I know you said emotional intelligence, but other than emotional intelligence, and you could throw your book in there too. But
Yeah.
what
Well,
book what book
yeah.
would you recommend for any leader in our industry to read and or to encourage your employees or invest in their employees for them to read as well?
Well, for most employees, because of the stress that the world is going through right now, and if you're feeling anxious or depressed or something, I would recommend Mel Robbins' 54321. I forget what the title is, but it's Mel Robbins' book. From a business point of view and a world looking at the world as it's changing, I highly recommend Ray Dalio's book, which is called Principles. It's probably one of the most important books that's been written in the last couple of years about where we are headed as a world economy and the lessons that he has learned, and he shares his principles. And look, if you don't want the book, just go on LinkedIn every single day. Ray Dalio and Mel Robbins post something every day, and those little snippets, it's
Or
so much better than saying, oh my God, I have this whole book to read. It goes back to that, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So what you do is you just go on LinkedIn and you take that 5 minutes when you wake up in the morning and make sure you're watching good thought leaders, the Ray Dalios, the Dr. Travis Bradburys, the John Maxwells, the Mel Robbins, the Brene Brown, the Jen Sinceros. There's so much good information that's there for us. We just have to make the choice. Going back to that whole knowledge is not power unless you apply it.
yeah. And
So
I've seen the transformation. My wife has last year read 30 books, and she went from reading Brene Brown, Dare She Lead,
yeah,
and now I just heard her yesterday mentoring somebody through all the process she's learned, and her company did a review for her and said, "You are emotional intelligence expert. Like this is what
absolutely. It's
you
all there for you.
it's all there
I,
for
I
you."
have I have had more hours learning outside of college than I did when I was in college.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
choose the right mentors and you get the information and you apply it consistently, your life will change
yeah.
unquestionably.
Intentionally, I like that word lately. So,
Yes,
and so
intention.
close to the final question, and I say close to the final because sometimes I hear the final and I want to ask more questions about it. But close to the final question, what is one question you would challenge the floral industry leaders to ask themselves this year?
There's an old saying in America, which is a horrible saying, that goes, if it ain't broke, don't break it. The question I would challenge everybody to ask is, what do I need to break?
Yeah, good one. Good one. And I don't have a question after that one because it's pretty self-explanatory. So what do I need to break it? Sometimes, if I can, break it and
Yeah,
watch what happens.
yeah,
Don't be afraid to break it. You know,
yes. That's the
you're on the
key.
point. Yeah, don't be afraid to break it. So, Barry, thank you so much, man, for joining. Thank you for sharing
Your Honor.
unconditionally. I truly appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and we'll stay in touch because I know I'm learning from you as the little snippets I'm already learning from you. So I
Whatever
truly
I can
appreciate
do.
you.
And again, if I can help anybody, reach out to me. It's been an honor. Thank you for inviting me. And I love the industry. I love the people that are in it. It certainly has provided me a great livelihood. So I'm grateful.
That is amazing. Thank you again, man. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye. So thank you to Barry. Amazing. Thank you for sharing unselfishly. That's what this show's about. That's what this show's intention is to inspire, connect, and innovate through community, through sharing, through connection, through having a place to just talk about, ask questions. So there's Barry's email. Please feel free to reach out to him. I'll give it a couple seconds so you could write it down. And then please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It really helps, one, motivate me, and also continue to spread the word within the community. So if you also want to be a guest, please feel free to reach out. Would love to bring you on. It's not paid or anything. It's really a community effort to try to innovate, connect, and inspire the floral industry. If you want to also find more information about New Bloom Solutions, check out newbloomsolutions.com. Digital marketing, consulting agency, business development, a couple other things, but that's not the intention of the show. But please feel free, even if you want to just network. I'm a big networker. I truly put my money where my mouth is when it comes to networking and helping people to understand the industry, or if they're looking to connect with somebody that could help them, just go to newbloomsolutions.com, put let's connect, and I really mean that. It's let's connect, let's chat for 15 minutes, and see how I could help you move forward or connect you to people like Barry if that's what you're looking for, is a mentor. So again, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you spending 30 minutes with us, and that's all she wrote. I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend, and take care. Bye bye.